Today we are going to talk all about landscape design. I'm going to show you why this crepe myrtle was quite possibly my very worst landscape design purchase, aesthetically speaking. Throughout this video, I'm going to show you how and why we built this southeast facing garden on the side of my garage so that we could try to hide these unsightly utility meters. I'm going to walk you through the how and the why of my design choices and even changes that we made throughout the years. And I hope that it makes you feel more confident going forward with your own landscape project. So first, I want to show you something I found on Google that I thought was really pretty cool. I got this house in 2013. But on Google, they still have images up from before I purchased this house. So I want to show you that so that you can see what I was working with and how the yard and landscape has changed. So the very first thing I want to start with is this beautiful Black Diamond Crape Myrtle that I have in this is the very southeast corner of my garage, of my home, of the entire home. And my oldest son, RJ, got this for me the first Mother's Day that he came back after completing basic training. I believe that was in 2015, might have been 2016, I'm not sure. But I know it was May of either 15 or 16. Anyway, he bought it for me for Mother's Day, and then he planted it there for me. And the reason is because in 2013, when I moved into the house, these trees and bushes that you see in the pre-photos, those were completely dead when I moved in. So I had to hire someone to come dig those out for me. And when they did, they discovered that the entire yard was completely flooded underneath, like it was. Nothing was draining. We had a horrible drainage problem. We had to put in a French drain and everything, and that helped a lot. The backyard was flooding a lot too, which if you've seen our garden videos from the backyard, you know that our yard is kind of two-tier. So you can see this beautiful crepe myrtle here. I wish I had more photos from when it was smaller so I could show you its progression over the years. It did start out very small, of course, and it has grown, and I prune it a lot as well. But I am wanting to take some cuttings so that I can make sure that it lives on with us at the new property once we get moved out there. We just need to get water turned on out there. So I have a lot of plants here that I really want to start transplanting over there, but I can't do that until we have water out there. So hopefully we're able to get water soon, I hope. Look at these beautiful lilies. I guess they finally died off, the bulbs that were in the ground. Those are the two plants that we started with. Now, let me show you the plant that I mentioned earlier that is possibly the worst plant that I ever purchased. So here's the deal with this one. I saw this beautiful crepe myrtle. It was not in season, so my mind was not thinking about this. It was on a dying plant rack listed for $5. And any gardener knows that we all feel like we can save every plant, right? Well, this one, there were a bunch that were in really bad shape. This one actually still looked really nice. And I thought, for $5, I'm going to buy it. So I got it home and I thought, wait, where am I going to put this? So I just popped it in the ground because I thought, I'll stick it back here and hide this meter. Well, I wasn't thinking because it wasn't in season at that moment. So my front crepe myrtle with the red blooms was not in bloom at that time. So I was not thinking. Plus, I couldn't see what color the flowers were going to be on the new crepe myrtle. It showed a pink, but I didn't know, Anyway, I wasn't seeing them side by side to actually think about. My mind had not gone there yet to think about what color that was going to be when they're both in bloom. And so I believe this was in 2019 that I picked that up on a sale rack. So, and it was fall. So I planted it, you know, both crepe myrtles started blooming the following year. And actually, I don't even think that one bloomed because the following year was 2020. I don't think the new one bloomed that year. I think it was in 2021, after it had been in the ground for a little more than a year, it bloomed at the same time as the other crepe myrtle, of course. And I realized, ew, that looks hideous because you've got the purple leaf and the green leaf, and you've got the red blooms and the pink blooms. They just don't go together. And I know zoomed out, in the picture, it doesn't look like it's as bad as it did in person. In person, it clashed so terribly. So anyway, so that is what started this landscape project. So in the winter time of 22, my family does own a roofing company, and my dad gave me a roll of roofing underlayment. So I laid that out so that I could kill off all of the weeds and grass in that area. So I just used the underlayment and some landscape staples, rolled it out for the entire winter time. Now you can do this with cardboard boxes. That's actually what would be preferable. But since it was my front yard, I didn't want it like cardboard boxes blowing around or looking tacky. I knew with the underlayment I could keep it smooth and it wouldn't look so bad. So I laid it out so that by springtime, when I took that off, it had, killed all of the grass and weeds and everything. And then in the spring of 23, once we removed that underlayment, we dug up the crepe myrtle and we moved it to the backyard. And I'm going to show you that here. But a funny thing happened when we did that. So this clip is from the following year, which would have been the spring of 24. And you can see here my Weigela plant is what I had planted there, I guess, right on top of where the crepe myrtle had been. And then you can see that crepe myrtle just continues to sprout all over this garden bed. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of planting this garden bed out. If you've ever heard me talk about landscape, you know that my favorite brand is Proven Winners, and that is because of the Supertunias. But I also love a lot of their other plants. Well, when first planning out this bed, I knew that I wanted to plant some elderberries because I don't have space for those in my backyard garden where all of my food crops are. But I thought, since this is a sunny area, since it's on the south side of the house, I knew that I could get away with elderberries there, and I knew that they would get large enough to hide these meters. But you have to have two different varieties that will pollinate each other. So when I planned this garden bed, I made a lot of mistakes, and that is one thing I'm going to teach you today. I broke my very first rule that I always tell everyone. You have to think about the size that the plants will get and not the size that they are when you're planting them. So in 2023, I chose 3 different varieties of elderberry, and I'm going to do a separate video to talk more about elderberries. Let me know if you're interested in that. But you can see I chose Black Lace, Laced Up, and Instant Karma. Along with those, I also chose to plant a smoke bush and a Weigela. And then I filled in the empty spaces with some fountain grass, which is an annual in my area, so I knew that that would not be there the following year. And then I also added in some purple sweet potato vine, and of course my favorite Supertunias. And if you like how these Supertunias look as we progress through these photos, make sure you subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be showing you some sneak peeks of other landscape projects, and I always use Supertunias in my projects anytime I'm working in a full sun bed. One lesson to take from this planting is that if you put a sweet potato vine really close to your Supertunias, it will take them over, along with everything else. In the late fall of 23, I was gifted some irises, so I asked Art to drop these in the ground somewhere for me, and he chose to put them right in front of the meter, which actually worked out really well. So let's recap where all of the perennials are at this point in the landscape. Sometime in the previous year, I had realized the smoke bush was too close to the front of the bed, which was going to get crowded with everything that I had planted up there. So I don't remember when, but sometime in 23, I moved that smoke bush back here toward the back. So it sits next to the instant karma elderberry. Of course, at the time that I moved it back there, I did not realize quite how big this instant karma elderberry was going to get. You'll see that more in just a moment. You can also see the Weigela Bush and the laced up elderberry here before you get to the other meter, and then you see the irises in front, and then the other elderberry is up here closer to the front crepe myrtle. And then of course you can see that the crepe myrtle we dug up is popping up all over the place, along with a lot of weeds. And then you can also see that when I planted my Supertunias for 2024, I forgot, I guess, that the blooms were red again on that crepe myrtle. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I planted pink Supertunias, which the whole reason I did the purple the year before was because I knew it would go with the red. So I don't know why I did pink, but I learned my lesson. And once the crepe myrtle was in bloom and I remembered that that clashes, I won't make that mistake again. So I have to be honest and tell you guys that this is not a side of the house that I frequent very often. So honestly, it has been a little neglected over the years. And this year, that crepe myrtle is going crazy. It's popping up everywhere. And we've had so much rain, and I never did plant any annuals up front like I normally do with my Supertunias. And the elderberries are finally producing fruit this year. So you will see here in a moment that I've got bags over them because the birds were helping themselves. So I needed to protect some of those berries so that I can save some for myself. So here is what it is looking like right now. And I have a lot more landscape videos to share with you guys in the very near future. And I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of another bed that we revamped the same year that we started on this one. That's going to be an upcoming video. I also have landscaping clients that I'm going to share with you pretty soon. So make sure you are subscribed. Let me know if you like these, and stay tuned for some outtakes. Throughout this video, I'm going to show you how and why we built this front northeast, nope, this front southeast. Okay, let me do that again. This is not supposed to be here. Look
look at how big that is compared to that one, which I planted in 2015. I planted this in 2020, and then we moved it in 2022. And this is what has grown after we dug the whole thing up. And it's like drowning out my Weigela down here. Crazy.